You've probably missed it 1,000 times. The way her pupils dilated when you looked into her eyes. The subtle lean toward you when she laughed. The fingers tracing the rim of her glass. Not absent-mindedly, but with intent. Most men don't see it. Not because women aren't giving signals, but because those signals live in a language far older than words. Body language shaped by biology, filtered by culture, and buried beneath centuries of shame, fear, and desire. Here's the dark truth. A woman could be burning with lust right next to you, and you'd have no idea. Not because she's hiding it, but because you never learned how to see it. This video will teach you what most men will never understand. How a woman's body reveals her desire without ever speaking a word. In a world where words dominate our communication, body language remains the raw, unfiltered truth. And when it comes to attraction, especially sexual attraction, women often speak loudest when they say absolutely nothing. But why is it that most men miss these cues? Let's start with a harsh reality. Society has conditioned men to look for what's explicit. Clear signals, direct invitations, verbal consent. And that's good. We need clarity. We need consent. But beneath the surface of polite smiles and casual gestures lies an older, evolutionary blueprint. Biologically, women are wired to signal interest rather than state it outright. This isn't manipulation, it's strategy. Evolutionarily speaking, subtlety helped women stay safe, avoid judgment, and maintain control over how, when, and with whom they express desire. So instead of saying, "I want you," she tilts her neck slightly to expose the soft skin just below her ear. Instead of grabbing your hand, she brushes her fingers past yours, once, then again, just to see if you'll respond. And when she laughs at your joke, she's not just being polite. If her body turns toward you, her toes point at you, her voice softens. That laugh might carry more weight than you realize. Take this fictional scene, for example. You're at a bar. A woman you barely know touches your arm mid-conversation. Quick, casual. You think nothing of it until she does it again, and again. She leans in, her eyes don't blink as often, and she laughs even before the punchline. Most men would assume she's friendly. But here's the thing. Women aren't taught to be direct. They're taught to be safe. And that safety often hides under a mask of casual behavior. Psychologically, this behavior ties into social camouflage, the subconscious need to balance sexual desire with social safety. Women know that overt expressions of lust might be misinterpreted, or worse, weaponized against them. So they communicate in signals: a look, a shift, a pause, a breath. Here's another disturbing fact. Research shows that men consistently underestimate women's sexual interest, especially when it's shown non-verbally. Not because men are oblivious, but because they've never been trained to read this silent code. And that's the point of this video. Because once you start paying attention, really paying attention, you'll realize something chilling. There were moments in your past when a woman wanted you, badly, desperately, and you didn't even see it. Not because you were foolish, but because the language of lust isn't taught. It's decoded. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul, but in the realm of desire, there's something darker, something older. They're the first traitors, betraying what the mouth dares not speak. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever felt a woman looking at you longer than necessary? Not just looking, studying you. A gaze that lingered a second too long. Eyes that flicked over your mouth, down your chest, back up again, before casually darting away as if nothing happened. Most men brush that off. They assume it was nothing. But what if that look was everything? In psychological studies on attraction, eye contact is one of the earliest and most reliable indicators of interest. But here's the twist. It's not just about locking eyes. It's about how she looks and what she's not saying with her lips. When a woman is attracted, truly, physically attracted, her pupils dilate involuntarily. Her blinking slows. Her eye movements become more deliberate. She might hold eye contact for just a heartbeat longer than normal, then break it with a small, almost playful smile. That's not shyness. That's a test. She's saying, "Do you see me? Will you respond? Or will you miss it, like most men do?" But it gets more intricate. In a group setting, a woman may glance at you when she thinks you're not looking, over and over again. Psychologists call this repeated glance behavior, and it's one of the most overlooked signs of desire. She looks away, looks again. It's subtle, but it's also strategic. It gives her deniability, and you an opportunity. There's a moment, right before a woman decides to act on her desire, where her gaze becomes unmistakable. Her eyes aren't just looking at you, they're consuming you. This isn't just attraction, it's scanning. Her mind is running calculations. Do I trust him? Does he notice me? Can I let the mask slip? Now imagine this. You're seated across from her. You're talking. She's smiling. But her pupils are wide. Her breathing is slightly faster, and she's blinking slowly. She's nodding, sure, but every few seconds her gaze drops to your lips, then quickly back to your eyes. She tilts her head. You think she's just listening, but her body is whispering, "Kiss me." I want to know what that feels like. And yet, most men miss it. They keep talking, keep joking, keep overthinking. Because reading lust through the eyes requires more than attention. It requires intuition. A gut sense that the body is speaking in code, and that you, for once, might just be able to understand it. Desire doesn't scream. It whispers through movement, posture, and proximity. And when a woman is drawn to you, her body will betray her, even if her words don't. Let's start with distance. Humans are territorial creatures. We all maintain a personal space, bubble, and women are especially sensitive to it. So when a woman breaks that invisible boundary without hesitation, leans in closer than necessary, brushes past you even when there's room, or sits just slightly closer than she should, that's not coincidence. It's intimacy testing. Her body is asking, "Can I be near you? Can I feel safe here? Do you notice me closing in?" Now pay attention to her orientation. If she's facing you squarely, hips, shoulders, feet, it's not just polite posture. It's an unconscious signal of openness. But if she shifts her legs toward you, leans in while you talk, or mirrors your movements, that's synchrony. And synchrony is attraction's secret signature. But it gets more primal than that. There's a behavior known in psychology as preening. Small, seemingly nervous actions that signal sexual readiness. She adjusts her hair, smooths her clothing, touches her neck, plays with her jewelry. But these aren't idle tics. They're rituals. They draw attention to her lips, her collarbone, her wrists, areas saturated with nerve endings and pheromonal signals. She might uncross and recross her legs. She might stretch in a way that subtly accentuates her curves. And it's not about showing off, it's about being seen. Now let's talk about touch. A woman who touches you casually, your arm, your shoulder, even your back, is often testing your receptivity. Does he lean in? Does he freeze? Does he pull away? The frequency of touch matters more than intensity. A gentle brush on your forearm may carry more weight than a full hug. Why? Because it's unexpected, it's unspoken, and it lingers. Let's imagine this scene. You're sitting side by side at a cafe. Her knee brushes yours. She doesn't pull back. You laugh, and she rests her hand on your forearm for a split second. Too brief to be overt. Too long to be meaningless. She laughs again, but this time leans just a little too close. You can feel her breath. She doesn't flinch when your elbows touch. And suddenly, the whole conversation feels warmer, closer, charged. Here's what's crucial. Lust lives in small spaces. It's in the half-inch between your knees. It's in the accidental touches that aren't really accidents. It's in the micro-movements, the pauses, the side glances, the way her fingers trace the edge of her glass like she's thinking about something else entirely. Her body might be saying what her lips never will. But to catch it, you have to stop listening with your ears and start watching with your eyes. Words are deceptive. They tell you what someone wants you to hear. But the voice, tone, pitch, rhythm, tells you what they're afraid to admit. When a woman desires a man, her voice changes, subtly, deliberately, but biologically too. Let's break this down. Studies in evolutionary psychology reveal that when women are attracted to someone, their vocal pitch increases slightly, but the pace slows down. The result? A softer, smoother, almost melodic tone designed to draw you in rather than dominate you. Her sentences stretch, her laughter lingers, and when she says your name, it sounds different, almost like a caress. Now ask yourself, have you ever spoken to a woman and felt something shift mid-conversation? The mood thickens, the background noise disappears. Suddenly, her voice lowers slightly. Her words seem more deliberate. She pauses between sentences. She starts asking you more questions, not out of curiosity, but out of investment. Here's a powerful psychological cue: selective attention in speech. When a woman is drawn to you, she filters the environment differently. She might ignore everyone else in the room and focus only on you. Her responses become more emotionally loaded. She reacts to your jokes with bigger laughs, remembers small details you said, and mirrors your vocabulary or slang. Why? Because mirroring language is a classic sign of emotional and sexual connection. She's aligning herself with you, unconsciously. Her body wants to be near yours. Her voice wants to match your rhythm, but it doesn't stop there. There's also the element of verbal teasing. Sexual tension often comes dressed as sarcasm, playful insults, or light verbal jabs. It creates a push-pull dynamic, a tension that teases the boundary between safety and seduction. Consider this fictional moment. You're at a bookstore. She walks up beside you, notices what you're reading, and says, "Wow, didn't expect you to be the deep type." Her voice is playful, but there's an edge. She lingers beside you, lowers her voice, and adds, "I bet you like talking about all that dark, mysterious stuff at midnight." She smiles, not wide, just enough. Her eyes flicker. That's not casual banter. That's testing the current beneath the surface. One of the most subtle signals? Her vocal exclusivity. When a woman begins to drop her public voice and speaks in a more intimate tone, quieter, closer, more confidential, that's no accident. It's an invitation. Her words become less about content and more about connection. She doesn't just want to talk. She wants you to feel the way she talks to you. And if you're really paying attention, you'll hear it. Not in what she says, but in how her voice drips with restraint. Because beneath every soft tone and long pause is a desire waiting to slip out. Let's face it, most men don't realize it until it's too late. Long after the moment has passed, they replay a scene in their mind. Her smile, the way she looked at them, the subtle touches, the way her voice softened at the end of a sentence. And then it hits them, she wanted me. But that realization often comes months, even years later, when she's gone, moved on, or worse, forgotten you ever existed. And you're left with a haunting question. How many moments of desire have I missed because I wasn't paying attention? It's not your fault. No one taught you to read the language of women's desire. You were taught to look for signs that were loud, obvious, and usually false. Lingerie, flirting, lips painted red. But real desire doesn't scream. It leaks out, through glances, posture, tone, rhythm, silence. And here's the psychological sting. Missed signals damage more than your confidence. They build your regret. Regret is one of the most potent emotional experiences in the male brain, and studies show that men often feel the deepest regret over inaction, the things they could have done, but didn't. You didn't kiss her when you should have. You didn't hold her gaze when she wanted you to. You didn't take that step when every part of her body was begging you to close the space between you. Let's paint a final picture. You're walking her to her car. It's late. The conversation fades into silence. She stands there, not getting in, not leaving, just waiting. She's fiddling with her keys, glancing at you between sentences. Her shoulders are slightly turned toward you. Her lips part slightly when she exhales. Her voice is quieter now, barely above a whisper. She says, "I had a really good time tonight." You smile, say goodnight, and watch her drive away. You didn't notice the weight in her words. You didn't feel the heat behind her glance. You thought she was just being polite, but in reality, she was inviting you to cross that last, invisible line. And now, that moment is gone, forever. But here's the silver lining. Now, you know, you can go back out into the world equipped with a new lens. Because once you see the signs, you can't unsee them. You'll notice the eyes that linger, the hands that tremble just slightly, the voices that carry too much meaning in too few words. And most importantly, you'll stop living in regret. You'll respond. Because women don't speak desire in plain words. They speak it in code. And now, you finally understand how to read it.